Hi Jack, how you doing?
I'm well, Sheila, you?
Not bad, not bad. Can you update us where you are with any bids you've received for Ryan Porteous or Kevin Nisbet?
The club has had some stronger interest in players over the last couple of days, and it's accelerated a little bit. But as we are both trained with me this morning, both are in the squad for tomorrow's game, and I don't see that changing over the next 24 hours. But I can't say for certain. But at the moment, as I said, they're part of our plans for tomorrow's game.
Clearly, two key players for you. How important is it for you that they do stay at Hibs?
Yeah, I think selfishly as a manager, you want to keep your best players within your squad, particularly when we've got so much to play for over the remaining games. But equally, I'm minded enough to accept that we have to continue to progress the club in the most effective manner from an economic point of view. So the only thing that I think even they probably accentuates the want to keep them is obviously the timing aspect of it. I think if you speak to any manager, they would say if they're going to lose important players, they would like to do it earlier in the window rather than later. And as the window obviously closes over the weekend as well, makes it a little bit more challenging. So naturally, yeah, I want to keep my best players at the club.
What have your discussions been like about the need to sell, if anything, during this current time?
In fairness, Ron has been well, first of all, I have regular and open dialogue with him, but he's been very supportive of the fact that we're not in a position where we need to. I think spoken often enough about how the club has managed to navigate this period and deal with the financial challenges that every club has had. I think they've done it in a really effective way, which has given them the confidence that they don't have to do anything that they wouldn't necessarily want to, and they would have to do through necessity. So it's encouraging for me, obviously, as a manager, to hear that.
And if the players don't leave or anybody doesn't leave, would you be looking to bring somebody else in anyway?
No, I mean, there's nothing imminent for us. Obviously, conscious of time marching on as well. We have explored, perhaps strengthening in another area, but there hasn't been the right player to do that. And obviously, we have tried to put a plan in place should we lose any of our players, and I think we have that ready if necessary. But as I said, if nobody departs, then I would. It's more likely we wouldn't do anything than it is likely. Thanks, Sean.
Would you be likely to get any of the funds that would come in if either Ryan or Kevin would go? Would you know how much of that you would get to work with in terms of sort of re-strengthening?
No, I've not asked that question because I think we're not far enough down the line with anything to warrant me giving that serious consideration. I think the only thing I would take comfort from the fact is Ron and the senior management of the club have been supportive with us speculating over the course of this season in terms of investing, and hopefully already with the fact we've had such firm interest in Kevin justifies that judgment, if you like, and then the support we've had from the club to do it. So if there comes a time in the near future or the longer term future, I think where we bring funds in, I'm sure then the club will be supportive of us reinvesting some of that as well.
How reassuring is it that just given the financial climate that's about at the moment, that the club is willing to sort of dig its heels in and stick to its valuations of the players and won't sell or just take the first sort of offer that comes along?
Well, it helps me naturally, and I think it probably gives hope and comfort to supporters that I think the owner is in it for the longer term and is trying to build something over a period of time as well. And as I mentioned in I think the first answer, there is always the right time and the right value to move the club forward. But if he doesn't feel that is right, then I think he isn't in a position where he needs to do something. I think that is. I think it's a reflection on how well people at the club have brought the club through this period. It's not been easy. People have had to do a lot of work behind the scenes and in other areas of the club to ensure that we continue to maximise our revenue streams in other areas.
You said that both players are in the squad for the weekend. Is there any other fitness news on that front?
Joe Newell's back trained yesterday and today. So subject to him having any reaction, which he hasn't had so far, he'll be included in the squad. So we, I think for the first time this season, we have nobody in the treatment room. So it's nice to have a full complement of players. We've obviously strengthened the numbers recently, but it's the first time I think all season we've had with everybody fit and available.
Cheers, Jack.
Thank you.
You've obviously mentioned Kevin and Ryan, but I'm just wondering if there's anything new in Josh or Stevie Mallon, because they've obviously been linked with moves away as well.
No, first of all, Stevie was somebody that I didn't necessarily want to lose from the squad, but I was obviously frustrated at the lack of game time, and an opportunity to potentially go overseas was there. It looked like that would happen. Fell down at the last minute for him, so he's back with us. He has been, obviously, he was back on the bench on Wednesday evening. And Josh, no, there's been nothing further with him, which is pleasing for me because his progress this year has been brilliant, and he's obviously a mainstay on our side at the moment. So I'm pleased. I'm sure that'll come in the future if he continues at the performance level he's at. It has been this season and he's at the moment.
It must be pleasing that so many of your players have been linked with other clubs. It sort of shows the progress the team's making, although obviously you've had a sort of recent bad patch.
Yeah, hopefully I think we've raised the expectations, I think, because of the progress we've made this season, and when you do that, then it heightens maybe the criticism you get when you go through a bumpy period, which is fine. It kind of goes with the territory, but the remit of the job is obviously to naturally win games and be successful on pitch, but it's also to try and improve players, develop them, and like every club, create resale value in them. So, you know, at the moment we've got an academy graduate that has played week in, week out, I think for the first time in his career, and has progressed again in Ryan. Another academy graduate, Josh, getting his first opportunity, a young player that we speculated on in Kevin. So hopefully it shows that we're developing them in the right manner, and we can do that moving forward as a model for the club as well, because I think it is something that will hopefully bring you on pitch success and off pitch help to continue to generate the necessary revenue streams that keep growing you as a club as well.
Yep. And you mentioned that sort of bad patch. I mean, that's one win in 7. Do you fear that there's a possibility of what was looking like a promising season could turn into a disappointing one?
No, I don't know.
Obviously, you'll be looking to turn that around against Dundee United tomorrow. Yeah,
of course. It has been I mean, I'm not meaning to be flippant about your last question. I think that acknowledge it's been our most difficult period of the season, probably my most difficult time since I came to the club, and actually I think one of the most difficult times as a manager for a long time as well. So in terms of the results aspect of it, we've had a slightly skewed fixture list and playing Rangers twice and Celtic at Parkhead in those 6 league games we've had. So the run we have coming up is an opportunity for us to stabilise and start to win games again, and we will take a lot of encouragement from the performance level on Wednesday, which I think was a lot better. But you're right to point out we need to get back to winning games as quickly as we can, and hopefully that will begin tomorrow and ahead of obviously a busy week for us as well.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Jack, obviously it was a bit of a sore one for Dundee United midweek. Can you read too much into that ahead of the game tomorrow?
Well, we obviously always look at the previous games that the opposition play in the lead up to yours. It's difficult to ascertain whether it's a good or a bad thing at times, because I'm sure Mickey will be getting asked today about the reaction he'll look from his players, and that often happens in the back of a disappointing evening. And there was obviously anomalies within that game in terms of conceding 2 penalties inside 45 minutes, which is unusual as well. So I think rather than look at the result, it's more about the structure of the team and what they did within it that we pay more attention to. And we definitely feel as if we've had to refocus a little bit as well and concentrating on what we have done as a team this season and what we need to do as a team in terms of going into matches.
Just finally, just on the transfer stuff, obviously this is it coming to the end for the season. Just how much different has it been overall now that you've sort of had the full picture almost over the 2 windows?
Sorry, in relation to?
Just in relation to how you've obviously with all the different parameters and stuff for this season, I can imagine it's probably
Yeah, I've been fortunate, and as I keep mentioning, I think we've as a club we've traded well. People will always point to the fact that we've spent fees on Kevin and Kel McGuinness, but we've recouped fees for the likes of Florian Kimberry, Darrell Horgan, Ollie Shaw earlier in my time here. So we've done it with a number of players. Adam Jackson, when he moved back down south, so although they didn't grab headlines, we've constantly had to juggle our budget and trade our way through it, and I've quite enjoyed that aspect of it. I've not had to, I've been supported, but equally I've always acknowledged what I would have to do to help keep that in equilibrium, and I think we've done that quite well, and I've enjoyed it. And it's different times, but in terms of how we've had to trade, I think Scottish football, you have to try and trade your way successfully through all windows. Thank you.
Hi Jack. When you spoke to Luke before the game midweek, you said that you were confident that Ryan would hopefully stay till the end of the season. It just shows how quickly things can change. Have you spoke to Ryan and Kevin particularly about the bids and the interest?
Yeah, I speak to them. I speak to my players all the time, and we those are young players that when I brought Kevin to the club, and then when I first started working with Ryan, that I explained to them that part of my job is to make them better and to help progress their career, and so hopefully they see this as another indicator that we're going in the right direction with that, and they're both comfortable with their own individual situations and where they're at and how things might move forward. So it's important for me then to get a feel for where they're at as well, and so we'll see how the rest of the day pans out, and how they both what type of mental state they're in for tomorrow's game. But these are judgment calls you have to make on players, irrespective of whether they're subject to transfer speculation as well.
Do you obviously you say they're part of your plans for tomorrow, and your attention will be on the game. Are you still as confident that they will be at the club come close of deadline on Monday?
Yeah, as of coming in just now, yes. But you've mentioned how quickly things can change, and that's the reality of it. So, as I've entered the room to speak to you guys just now, then they're very much part of my plans for tomorrow, and part of my plans for Tuesday evening's game against St Mirren. But I'm also sensible enough to know that can change very quickly, and subsequently you always have a plan in place should that be the case, and should you feel as if they're not quite ready for the games.
You sort of talked there about the development and how you've helped them sort of progress in their careers, and obviously as a positive that this recognition and interest is there for them. Josh spoke very highly of the support you've given him as well, and obviously he's been linked, as been mentioned, with clubs down south. How much have you got in your hands to just sort of keep him sort of focused in here and now? He was saying he sort of just wants to focus on his game and not get carried away. But when you hear of these big Premier League clubs, it must be easy for a player to sort of read that and think about it going forward.
Yeah, I think it's a fair question to ask, and I think when you do my job, you learn that all players are very different characters and mindsets, and can be affected in very different ways, and it's about figuring that out as quickly as you can. And he is a young man that is very level-headed. I think very sensible about his development, and I genuinely there's not one single concern I would have about affecting him, just because of how he's dealt with the challenge of this season and how he's progressed and how he interacts with me and my staff about bettering him. He's a really, really good type to work with, and I know it sounds a bit cliched, but he genuinely is, and he's a player that I have every confidence that will progress his career very successfully, because not just what he's shown on the pitch, but because of his temperament and his mindset, and he has a confidence in his own ability, while also being very open-minded to learning, and I think in listening to people, and I think that's important, and I think that will stand him in good stead through this period of speculation as well.